mentioned it a lot. I've said the word a lot, but I haven't set it up yet. And in this video, that's exactly what we're going to do. We are going to be setting up the emergency fund. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. We're going to be setting up the emergency fund. Something that we have to, we've got to do. We've got to do it. It's very necessary. I'm not going to explain too much about the emergency fund. I'm going to use some helping videos, some helping resources so that we get an idea of what is an emergency and also why it's for. But before we go into that, I want to show you a little change that I made. So I woke up this morning and I just looked at this.
Oh, would you look at this?
Yeah,
And I realized that there's a better way to describe what needs to happen here. I wanted to separate out, because there's two types of credit cards that we're going to have. One is a type of credit card which is basically used as a debit card. It's paid off in full at the end of the month. And then the other ones which I have a balance on, right? So I just split them up into two categories. One is a pass-through entity, and these are all the credit cards with the auto pay on statement balance. Then the other category is debt, where I am carrying a balance, right? And in this category, this is where you can put all your other debts, if you have any other debts, like your student loans or car payments or any of that kind of thing. You want to at least have the auto pay minimum payment on there, right? And that's what we have, because you don't want to miss a payment. And the goal for these is to eliminate them. In my case, for credit cards, it's going to be to move them over here, all right? The reason that I did this is because instead of having a very generic, excess of money going into this pot, this is going to really clearly show where the money is going. So if the extra $600 a month is going into this card, then that's where I'm going to put it. And once that's paid off and we have the ability to start paying this one off, then the extra money is going to be going into here, right? Or whatever. So in terms of building the machinery to do this, this is a more accurate description of what is going to happen. Okay. And we're not going to build the machinery in this video. We're going to do that in the next video because I want to keep these videos shorter than I have been in the past. So today we're going to just focus on the emergency fund. So we're going to watch a quick video here. It's actually Dave Ramsey telling a story about his experience with emergency fund. I think it's a pretty good video, so we're going to watch it.
You know, isn't it amazing how much in a situation that doesn't life just have storms? I mean, the storm's not just real; they're metaphorical too. I mean, it's a metaphor. We all got storms, don't we? One time or another. Sometimes you can predict them. Sometimes you can't. You can't see it coming always. You don't know what's happening. But isn't it amazing how just $1,000? That's not that much. But how many options and how much peace that can give you. Just $1,000. And so there's a reason to do the stuff we teach here. It's not just a Dave Ramsey thing. It's not just a biblical way of handling finance thing. It's not just good for you to be a grown up. It's not all that. It's a better way to live your life. I mean, what if you had a fully funded emergency fund and you were facing all these things and you had $20,000 set aside and no payments at all? It's a different thing to face life when it comes at you, the storms of life. But I mean, really, it is a good metaphor. When they come at you, it's a different thing to face that with a little bit of a pile of money. Or you could even be the guy that stopped in the lobby. He was here Thursday. He and his wife. They were in Nashville. I said, what are you doing in Nashville? He said, well, we live in North Carolina, and we thought it was a good time to come to Nashville and throw a party. I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, we're millionaires. We've been doing the stuff you teach for years, and we're completely out of debt. We got a net worth over $1 million, and we thought this is a good time to go to Nashville. Doesn't it change your perspective when every decision you make doesn't create yet another crisis? I remember just something as simple as a car breaking down. Every time the car would break down at our house, we had a hillbilly drama crisis. I mean, I would throw stuff at the car, get mad, have a fit, stupid car. I hate this car. I hate every car that's got this color on it. This stupid car. on the side of the road again. I wish someday I could get a position. You ever whine? I think whining is a little known form of prayer. I'd go into like super whine mode. You ever done that? Yeah, you have. You know you have. What's interesting was once I got an emergency fund in place, I remember the first time we had about $10,000 in the bank, and the transmission went out on the car. Actually went out on the van because I pulled the boat with the van with the shifter in the overdrive position, so I fried the transmission because I was stupid. But that's how it went out. Smoke filled the car, and my children were yelling that they were all going to die, and this is what happens if you put the drive shifter in the wrong place and pull the boat. Anyway, so yeah, I got to put a transmission in the van. But it was the weirdest feeling. We're driving away from the place after we put the transmission in. We paid, I don't know, $1,700 or whatever it was for the transmission. It was 100 years ago. And we were driving away because we just went in and picked up the van and wrote a check. And there was no hillbilly drama. It was like weird. It's like this is just an emergency becomes an inconvenience when you have some money. So the purpose of this show is not to say rich people don't have any troubles. The purpose of this show is to say get some money. Get you some money. It's called an emergency fund is one of your first steps. Get you some money. Get yourself out of debt. Quit buying crap that you can't afford with money you don't have to impress people you don't really like. Stop it. Get you some money. Because the storms are coming. You're going to do something stupid and fry your transmission. There's going to be a hurricane. That something's going to happen. But a crisis is not a hillbilly drama. It's an inconvenience. When you're a millionaire, you come to Nashville and have a party. It's kind of inconvenient to be over here right now. There's a hurricane, so I'm going to go over there. And I'm just going to get on a plane and fly over there and rent me a car and get me a really nice hotel and go to some nice restaurants. And when we get back home, we'll see what's left. Work it out. It changes everything. It changes everything when someone in your family is ill. And you can go be with them, or you can even help them through that process. It changes everything when the storms of life hit. I don't want you to be rich because you're greedy, and I'm not teaching you to be greedy. I'm not greedy. That's not the point. But money is an interesting thing. My friend Pastor Craig Groeschel says, why is it wealth is the only blessing from God that we apologize for? Well, I don't apologize for it. I want you to work hard, come by it honest, save some of it, be a grown-up, and then when a crisis comes, it'll be an inconvenience.
So good. I didn't want to cut him off there because he had a good message. I'm 21 with a $12,500 emergency fund, all thanks to Dave. I had $26K in my emergency fund and I've been debt-free for over 2 years. Phone was damaged, stolen. I can get a new one on the spot. Need new tires, $800 plus. Done. I can practically handle most emergencies. So these are two examples of what an emergency is, right? 25 with a 10K emergency, debt-free, student loans paid off, car paid off, feels so good. Just a few months ago, I had no emergency fund. Now I have a $600 emergency fund and still growing. Such a good feeling. My problem is now that I hate to even spend the emergency fund. Yeah, that's going to happen. That's going to happen because often it's going to be very, very hard to save up the money that you get into the emergency fund so that when you have it there, now all of a sudden you don't want to spend it. You're going to try as hard as you can not to spend it because, well, hey, it's for an emergency fund there. Trying to build an emergency fund while emergencies keep happening. Pray for me. I'm guessing, and I don't know the situation. I don't know the situation there, but he might have a too broad of a definition of what is an emergency. One more. My wife and I have completed baby step 3. We have an emergency fund of $12,000. Literally anything that comes up we can cover. The AC goes out, we can get a new one. Our friends freak out over every expense that comes up, and it feels so good not to even bat an eye at an expense. They are always fighting with their wives about money. One of them just got divorced. They made about $120K a year combined, but were completely broke. My wife and I have never gotten into an argument in the last 6 years we've been together, or 2 years married. Having money removes 80% of the stress from life. That's deep. I forgot to like all these other ones. So there you go. That's the power of an emergency fund. So we're going to define a little bit for ourselves what is an emergency. So if we look at the Oxford definition for what an emergency is, it's a serious, unexpected, and often dangerous situation requiring immediate action. So if you're walking down the street and you see a really good deal and it's like, oh, I got to buy it because I'm never going to get this deal again, that's not serious. It is unexpected. You weren't expecting to see that, I don't think. It's not dangerous. So that's not an emergency. So my emergency fund is going to be a cash account, and the fund is going to have very specific reasons. There are going to be very specific reasons as to what the money comes out of it for. Okay. To start, I'm just going to write down whatever comes to mind as what can be an emergency for me. The first one that I can think of is because I recently changed my health coverage, like my health insurance, my health share, right? So number one, where'd that box? Number one is going to be the health share IUA. IUA is essentially the deductible for my health share, right? So if I get hit by something, I need to go into the hospital via ambulance, then I have to pay the IUA. My IUA is $5,000. So that is considered to me an emergency. What else? Death or serious illness in the family. If that happens and I need to go somewhere or do something or take some time off in order to address that, then that is considered an emergency. Another one that comes to mind. Oh, before we move on that one, it might not be just particularly the transport costs of getting there, but it could also be the loss of income that you experience. Like if you're going to have to stop working for a little bit, then you want the emergency fund to be able to fund your expenses during that time. Okay, what else? So car repair, insurance deductible. Like that guy mentioned in the comments, if he has an $800 car repair, he just pays for it out of the emergency fund. That's all that I can think of for now, but I guess there's other things that could come in, like theft, broken laptop, broken phone. Oh, just say it. Technology replacement due to loss or theft or something like that. Due to loss or breakage. All right, you get the point, right? It's not like, oh, my phone is slow and I want to buy a new one. It's, oh, I lost my phone and I need to get a new one. So that's all I can think of for now, really. Yeah. So the first thing that we're going to do is take this emergency fund and literally plop it down here. Now, I don't want to have this, I don't want to see this money every day. The emergency fund is something that I want to know that's there. I know that I have it, but I don't see it every day. Like if I go into my budget and every time I open my budget, I see this number here. I see the staging has $6,200 in it. That's kind of like an unconscious, like, oh, I have that much, right? But if all of a sudden I see less money here, then I'm like, oh, okay, I don't have that much. Of course, having a budget is supposed to get you over that. It's still there because you can see the numbers. So I'm putting the emergency fund outside the realm of tracking, okay? The purpose of it really, in case something big happens, like a big expense comes out of it, that's like, oh man, it's going to go in there and clog the whole system and it's going to break stuff, right? I don't want it to break the machine. If something like this happens, if an emergency expense comes, the purpose of the emergency fund is to take care of that so that the machine doesn't break. We want the machine to keep working. And in the next video, maybe, we never know, what I'm going to do is set up this automatic payment from the staging into one of these cards to start paying them off just automatically. We're already paying the minimum payment here, but we're going to do additional payments on top of that in order to get that paid down, right? So that's where the emergency fund is going to be. It's going to be outside here. And once I get it set up, let's start with $2,000. And then I'm going to work my way up to $5,000. So $1,000 per month until $5,000. And that's how we're going to fund the emergency fund. All right, so that's about it. So for the rest of the video, I'm just going to go open the account. I'm just going to choose a online savings account. Probably has like a 1% yield or so, but the yield is not really that important. It doesn't matter. I mean, for the emergency fund, you could put the money, I was going to say print it out, but you could get it from the ATM and put it in a safe under your bed. or in a box or in a shoe or something like that, that's good enough. For me, I mean, if I have the money accessible in terms of cash, I'm more likely to like use that cash and spend it on things. So I'm not going to do that. But hey, whatever works for you. I saw a cool emergency fund once where somebody put up a frame and they wrote emergency fund on it, and then they put the cash inside that frame. I thought that was pretty cool. But for me, I'm just going to put it in some online savings account. So for the rest of the video, well, actually not for the rest of the video, I'll just cut it off here. But I'm just going to go and open that emergency fund and put an initial $2,000 investment inside of that account. All right, so that's it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. All right, guys, so I got the emergency fund set up here. Ended up opening it with Ally Bank because I had it previously banked with Ally and they had all my information pretty much, so saved myself from creating another login and all that kind of information. So there it is, the emergency fund. So the next step is going to be to fund it with money, right? Move money from the staging account into this. So put it in there, right? And then the other thing that I'm going to want to do is add it to my balance sheet. Okay, and in typical tradition of making things easy to access, I'm going to take that, put it in there. All right, guys, that's it. Emergency fund is pretty much set up now. Bye-bye.